Imagine a world long before cities, roads, or even farms. This was the Earth 4.7 million years ago, a time during what scientists call the Pliocene epoch. The world was a wild and untamed place, teeming with life. Vast grasslands known as savannas stretched across continents like Africa, dotted with clusters of trees and winding rivers. The air was warmer than it is today, and the seasons brought cycles of rain and drought. It was in this ancient landscape that our earliest ancestors, hominins like Ardipithecus ramidus, began their incredible journey. They were not yet the humans we know today, but they were taking the first crucial steps on 2 feet, a change that would reshape the future of life on our planet. These early hominins were small creatures, perhaps only about 4 feet tall. They walked upright, which was a remarkable adaptation. This allowed them to see over the tall grasses of the savanna, helping them spot both food and danger from a distance. Their hands, now free from the task of walking, could be used for other things, like carrying food or holding on to their young. The world they inhabited was full of giant, unfamiliar animals. There were massive elephants with strange tusks, fearsome saber-toothed cats with long, sharp fangs, and giant hyenas that roamed in packs. It was a world of constant challenge, where survival was a victory earned each and every day. Life for these pioneers was a delicate balance with nature. They did not build houses or grow their own food. Instead, they moved with the seasons, following the herds of animals and the ripening of wild fruits and plants. Their lives were governed by the rising and setting of the sun. Daylight hours were precious, a time for finding food and water before the dangers of the night emerged. Every sound in the rustling grass, every shadow on the horizon held meaning. They had to be incredibly aware of their surroundings, using their senses of sight, hearing, and smell to navigate their complex and often perilous world. The environment itself presented enormous challenges. The weather could be unpredictable and harsh. Long periods of drought could make water scarce, forcing groups to travel great distances to find a stream or a water hole. Then, sudden, heavy rains could flood the plains, making travel difficult and dangerous. The sun could be relentlessly hot, and without protective clothing, finding shade was essential for survival. These early humans were completely immersed in their environment, their lives interwoven with the rhythms of the natural world in a way that is difficult for us to imagine today. They were not masters of their world, but resilient survivors within it. The most important task for every early human every single day was finding enough to eat and drink. Their diet was varied, a strategy that increased their chances of finding a meal. They were omnivores, which means they ate both plants and animals. A large part of their food came from gathering. They would search for edible roots, which they might have dug from the ground with a simple stick. They also collected berries, nuts, and fruits from bushes and low-hanging branches. Learning which plants were safe to eat and which were poisonous was vital knowledge, likely passed down from one generation to the next through observation and experience. Finding a reliable source of fresh water was just as crucial as finding food. Our ancestors needed water to drink every day to stay alive, especially in the warm climate of Africa. They would have looked for rivers, streams, and lakes. During the dry seasons, when many smaller streams disappeared, finding water became much harder. They might have learned to dig in dry riverbeds to find underground water sources. They also likely observed other animals, following them to hidden water holes. Staying close to a good water source was a key strategy for survival, but it also meant they had to share that resource with many other animals, including dangerous predators. While much of their food came from plants, early humans also ate meat. However, they were not yet the skilled hunters that would appear much later in our family tree. Instead, they were likely opportunistic scavengers. This means they would look for animals that were already dead. Perhaps a large predator, like a saber-toothed cat, had made a kill and left some of the carcass behind. Our ancestors would have had to be very brave and quick, darting in to grab pieces of meat before other scavengers like hyenas or vultures arrived. This protein-rich food was an important source of energy, helping to fuel their growing brains. Shelter was another basic need, providing protection from the elements and from predators. Early humans did not build permanent homes. They were nomadic, meaning they moved from place to place. For shelter, they used what nature provided. A large cave or a rocky overhang offered excellent protection from rain, wind, and the hot sun. It was also a defensible spot, making it easier to watch for approaching dangers. If there were no caves nearby, They might have sought refuge in dense thickets of trees, or even built simple temporary nests in trees to sleep in at night, much like modern chimpanzees do. This kept them safely off the ground, away from predators that hunted in the darkness. Our earliest ancestors did not have claws or sharp teeth to defend themselves, so they had to use their intelligence and their hands to create tools. The first tools were likely very simple and made from materials that were easy to find. A sturdy tree branch could be used as a digging stick to unearth nutritious roots and tubers from the ground. It could also have been used as a club for defense, a way to make themselves appear more threatening to a potential predator. A fallen log could be used to help cross a stream. These simple organic tools were a crucial first step in the story of human technology, demonstrating the ability to see an object not just for what it was, but for what it could become. The most significant technological leap for this period was the use of stone. Early humans learned that certain types of rock, like flint, could be broken to create a sharp edge. These were not the carefully crafted hand axes of later periods, but they were effective. By striking one stone against another, they could flake off a piece with a razor-sharp edge. This simple stone flake was an incredibly useful tool. It could be used to slice meat from a scavenged carcass, making it easier to carry and eat. It could also be used to sharpen a wooden stick into a crude spear or to scrape hides, although complex clothing was still far in the future. The process of making these tools, even simple ones, required skill and foresight. A hominin had to know which rocks were the best for the job and where to find them. They had to understand the basics of how the rock would break when struck, a skill that we call napping. This knowledge was likely shared within the group, with younger individuals learning by watching their elders. The ability to create a tool on demand was a powerful advantage. It meant they were no longer limited by their own physical strength. A sharp stone could do what teeth and fingernails could not, opening up a whole new range of food sources and possibilities for survival. These early tools were not just practical, they represent a change in thinking. The act of creating a tool shows the ability to plan for the future. An individual would find a good stone, carry it with them, and then modify it to perform a specific task later on. This is a level of cognitive complexity that separates our ancestors from most other animals. The stone tool was more than just a sharp rock. It was a thought made real. It was the beginning of a long and incredible journey of innovation that would eventually lead to the complex technologies we rely on today. For these early humans, it was a lifeline. Living in a group was perhaps the single most important survival strategy for early humans. An individual alone on the vast savanna was incredibly vulnerable. They would have little chance against a large predator and would struggle to find enough food. But by living together in small family groups, their chances of survival increased dramatically. A group offered safety in numbers. More pairs of eyes and ears meant they were more likely to spot an approaching predator, like a lurking big cat, before it could attack. They could work together to scare off threats, shouting and waving sticks to appear larger and more intimidating. Group living also made the daily search for food much more efficient. Instead of everyone searching for the same things, they could cooperate. Some members of the group might focus on gathering fruits and nuts, while others kept watch for danger or looked for signs of a recent animal kill to scavenge. Once food was found, it could be shared among all members of the group. This was especially important for the young, the old, or those who were sick or injured. Sharing ensured that everyone had a better chance of getting the nutrition they needed to survive, strengthening the entire community. The group was also the center of learning and social life. This is where the young learned all the essential skills for survival. They would watch their parents and other elders to learn which plants were safe to eat, how to find water, and how to make simple tools from stone and wood. They learned by imitation, practicing the skills they would need as adults. The group provided a supportive environment for raising children, who were dependent on their parents for many years. This long period of childhood allowed for more time to learn the complex social rules and survival strategies of their community. Life in a group provided more than just physical safety. It offered companionship and emotional support. These early humans likely formed strong bonds with each other, much like modern primates do. They would have communicated through a combination of gestures, body language, and a range of sounds. They cared for each other, groomed each other to build social bonds, and protected each other from harm. In a dangerous and uncertain world, being part of a close-knit group provided a sense of security and belonging. This foundation of cooperation and community was the key that allowed our earliest ancestors not just to survive, but to thrive and continue their long journey.